What are you guys doing sneak up behind me? How's it going? Welcome back to Envision Prototypes. Today we're going to be working on door latches. And this little baby here has got to fit inside this area. I think we can do it. There's just enough room. So I've been playing around where the strike comes in and latches with this latch as well as the bolts. The biggest thing is to make it look factory. We don't want to just stick it in and hope it looks good. So what we're going to do, these holes here, we're going to eliminate them by cutting this section out and creating a piece. Well, hang on a second. I have an idea. If we use this, it's already been ground. This came from one of the Infiniti's doors, driver's side, of course. And if we use this and mount this in that location, saves us a lot of time, a lot of work in drilling, fitting, and matching up a piece of sheet metal to work with this latch. I like it. Do you like it? Put in the comments. Let me know what you think. I read your comments. Perfect. I like where we're going with this. We're going to take this, cut it out right now. However, before we get into that, we got to talk about the other end. Not the other side, but the part that engages with the latch. Where's that going to go? We'll fix this eventually. So this is the strike that needs to engage with that latch. And then we need to mount that somewhere in here that corresponds to the opening on the door. I can't do this until that's located. Now this one's not too bad because all we have to worry about is drilling a couple of holes. We can take and cut this out, but they a lot more welding. And just simply drill a couple of holes. The whole deal with this is we need to back this strike up with a plate that we can bolt this to. Because you can't bolt it to tin, it'll just rip apart. So we'll take this at some point, once that's done, plant this on here, and what would look really good is actually recessing it into the doorpost. That'll look more factory. So we'll recess this, bolt that in place, and then take this big opening where the old latch used to sit and fill all that in, smooth it out, and that should be it. Here's a keepsake, guys, just for you. Wrong side. I'm kidding. We're all good. See how that's fitting up? These bends along the sides of the doors here, all working out. The one thing we do have to do is cut back into the door a little more to flush this up. You can always cut a bit more out, but to add more material or fill it up with weld, not what you want to do. More cutting. Aside from the difference in color, we've got 3 different colors going on here, plus the Sharpie. This is going to work out quite nicely. So let me get some vice grips on this, tack it in place, and then we can see if the latch mechanism will actually sit in there the way it needs to. Pretty good fit. Now, as I was tacking this, you're probably thinking to yourself, how did he know where to locate that latch? And it was all based off of this key lock actuating rod. With the handle located, measured down to the top bolt, allowing enough room for the pivot up and down. And that basically located the latch right there. And it fell roughly middle of the door. Not sure why Ford would have put the latch at that point. Oh, that's right. Ford did have their handle up above, and the way the handle worked, it actuated the latch at that location. They never used linkages. It was more of a direct push-pull system. That almost looks factory right there. There's a bit of a reveal in here, that a depression such as this. So I can flatten that out. We'll take and fill those holes up there. You'll never tell. We have another deal here. If you look at the latch, you see if I want the holes to line up, they're actually half a hole off that way. And that's because of this flange over here. So we're going to take and flatten that out. And it's really a stiffening rib, but I think we can get away with just flattening that out and having the latch sit flush up against this surface, because that's the way it's got to work. We can cut that out. Let's flatten it out. Now you can see, by flattening this out, it did create a bit of weakness in this flange, just moving around. So we might have to take and roll an edge on that or something. We'll see. Right now I want to get these latches installed. Well, that's a whole lot better. And the holes line up. See? Don't have to fight with them at all. Just use my fingers, do them up. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Gotta remind myself every morning. If you're south of the equator, I think it's the other way around. It's like a toilet, it goes the other way. Well, that seems to be sitting quite nicely. And our cables are coming in. This was something that Infiniti had on their door to stabilize the cable. We don't really need that. I'm not sure how to pull that off, but maybe we'll come up with a bracket or something to hold that. And this here goes up to the door release up here. And these are the lock and release. 2 releases. Strange. Anyway, we'll figure that out later. As long as I can unlock the door. That unlocks the door. That unlocks the door. Why would you have 2 cables to unlock an outside door handle? This comes up like that. It's always an answer. Okay, I'm happy with that. As long as we can unlock the door, we can now go ahead and locate the strike. It's coming out quite nice. I like that. It's only a few tacks too. So this strike engages at that point there. So we need to see if we need to maybe perhaps boss that strike out. Oh yeah, you see? For that to sit there, that strike is actually inside, way inside. Let's see if we can get you guys in there. Get a marker. We'll take care of all this. I haven't welded the doors yet. As you can see, they're just still sitting there. I want to get the handles working first.
And here we have 2 generations of hut rod builders working in their natural habitat.
Okay, I left the strike on the door. This is another one. Now initially, in my imagination, I was planning to put the strike right here. It looked right at the time. However, after closing the door with the strike engaged, we're way inside here. That means, and we're too high. This little bead here comes up too high. So we're gonna have to take and modify this area to allow this strike to set inside. And at that point, we should be good. Now these jambs are a bit of an angle. That's good, because we can take and recess kind of a track in here, push that material in, and set this back. At this point, we have lots of room. At this point, we're actually jamming on the door. So this has to move in about 3/8 of an inch. We're not going to be using the factory door seals anymore. We're going to change the location of that, so I'm not too concerned about the doors sealing where they used to seal. Okay, so there's a composite material that they put the tacks into for the interior, for the upholstery, and that's what was burning when we were cutting or bending the roof and cutting the roof. So we're taking, there's a bunch of bend over tabs. We're going to unbend them. Probably cut them all off. They're no longer necessary. That's old school. We're going to come up with our own interior. See, this is the stuff nobody talks about when doing a rebody. I guess most people leave the original door latches and locks. There we go, and that should, by rights, pop out. Come on. It'll come out in pieces. Give us an opportunity to paint all this stuff in here, primer all this, because it's all bare metal. Even though we prepped that area, there's still some undercoating that, who knows, I guess it was impregnated in the metal, but it actually caused some soot to come up. When you're TIG welding, you gotta make sure both sides are perfectly clean. And sometimes with something like this, it's quite difficult. Especially if you can't get in there. There we go. All gone. So now the trick is going to be to recess this area of the latch. I think that's where the latch has to sit. Center point is there. Once you figure out one side, do the other side. And this sits like this, about this location. So do that. I need a straight edge. Can we use this? Sure. There we go. So we're kind of, oh, the other thing is we need to cut the back side of that because there's a channel in there, and that's going to prevent us from driving this down. So we'll cut that just enough that we can, actually we should go a bit higher because I need to block the upper side. Let's come down a little more. I'll explain why in a moment. All right, now I went just above and below where our latch is going to sit. So we can put something in, brace this, and drive this down. If I just cut this out, drove it down, all we would have is a big dish in here. We wouldn't have a nice crisp edge to look like a factory stamping. And to take this whole panel out, not too feasible to stamp it. So we're going to work with it in the car. And sometimes you look at my gloves and you see all those holes. It's the grinders. It just destroys the gloves. They're disposable. Hands aren't. So got some square stock. I'm going to slide it in just up above here. I hope. I got to cut a little more out. This is the structural post that we put in and ties down all the way into the rockers to solidify this post here. Even though we won't be taking out this post all the way, this new post has given this whole body side a lot of strength. Need a heavier hammer. Okay. It's just bouncing. Perfecter. It's in a little bit too much, not a problem. We'll bring it out to where it needs to be. Get a plate in there, 1/4 inch. Drill and tap some threads into it. Get the bolts in. Thank you. Sometimes you got to think outside the box to get your problem solved. And this is a shoebox, so I think what we're going to do is get some screws, mount this latch or strike, I should say, to this post, enlarge the holes. If I just took a plate, 1/4 inch, whatever, slid it in, welded it to this heavy steel post, we wouldn't have any adjustability on this strike. The latch is fixed within the door on countersunk bolts, countersunk heads, so that's not going anywhere. If this door needs to be adjusted up, down, whatever, and this isn't adjustable, well, you can't do much, you know, you're stuck. So we need adjustability. The plate will slide in from the end, we'll run the bolts in, we'll hold the plate here, maybe make a little cage or retaining whatever to hold it, and at that point, that's it. So let's get the strike mounted. Yeah, mounted, and then we'll cut 2 plates, 1 for each side, drill, tap, get all that done. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, that's going to be good there. I'm going to mark the edge of the plate so I know where it sits, and we're just going to screw it on. Now, I'm going to emphasize that this is not finished. We can't leave this on screws. So give me a few minutes, we'll get some plates made up, get them slid in, test fit the doors. So we've got this bracket all welded in. Nice, nice. Put the bolts in. And we're going to see if the door closes and latches. I know it'll close, but will it latch? It's the reason why I didn't finish the bottoms of the doors, because if you have a lot of floating variables with no latch, the door's going to float around. It won't close in one consistent spot. It'll be in, be out, you know, that kind of thing. So we can't adjust the outside curvature to the rocker behind us. So get the latch in, and then we go ahead and weld the structure in, and then weld the door skin on, finish that off. Good. Now this requires 3. I'm only putting in 2 for now. Fish that up. And let's see. Ooh. What's going on? Are we latched? No. That's right. We may have to bring that strike out a little bit. Shim it out. Need a trusty screwdriver. Drive it in between the plate, the reinforcement plate that we put in to bolt the latch or the strike to, and just move it ahead to test the theory out. We can't obviously leave this in place. Let's try that. That's what it is. Uh-oh. We're latched. Oh. With all the excitement, I almost forgot. Okay, that's the first locking position, and that's the second. We are good to go. Yeah, I like that. And this top surface is flush. This quarter is sticking out past the door. We have to make sure that everything aligns correctly. I'm going by our little blocks here. That's all good. I am really tickled pink with this. So we do have to make a few little adjustments. Not a big deal. When you're prototyping, you know, you have to expect that. But that's perfect. Like that's... Here. Let you listen. That's it. That's all it takes to lock those doors. You don't have to slam them. I can't stand slamming doors. That's the worst thing. You got to take a wind out and just get that door shut. Not the best thing for a hot rod. Unless that's what you're building, you know, that kind of rustic feel. But this is what I'm after. A nice 1, 2, done. Okay. So for my to-do list, I need to create a little spacer, a little shim to go underneath that strike, bring that strike out. Not a big deal, but what's happening is we have that, let's see if I can show it on this one. The claw in the door is striking this top bar here, not going inside. It's just barely clearing. So maybe it's one of those things we take and move the door back, but the gap is perfect back here. It's where we need it to be. So all we do is bring that strike out, and that will solve that problem. The other thing on my to-do list is to stand up and thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions about how to set up a latch, it's going to be very difficult for me to answer it without seeing your situation, without seeing your pictures, without me even doing a video and trying to show me what's going on. Latches are a tricky thing to get right. Bear claw latches, we've used them, they work great, but I want an OEM feel where we have all OEM parts, latches, solenoids, all that put together to work with the Infiniti system. So that's why we went with this particular design. Until next time, guys, take care.